Hello everybody, and welcome again to my channel. A rather important document has been leaked from the Watchtower organization. This document is none other than a book called Correspondence Guidelines. Now let me explain to you the importance of this book. As you probably know, the elders have a secret book which people that are not elders are not allowed to look at. That book tells them how to handle things in the congregation. However, when the elders have a question, they call the branch. They call the service department. That service department answers their question. The information that the service department uses to answer that question is found in this book entitled Correspondence Guidelines. So the elders book was leaked, but that could have been done by any of thousands upon thousands of individuals, probably tens of thousands. Correspondence Guidelines, the number of people that could leak that is by far not that large. So what I want to do is bring out some of the highlights of the Correspondence Guidelines, and there's probably more information in there that would interest people. You can find it online if you search around, somebody put it up there. But basically this is once again just a guide for how to deal with situations including disciplining people, and that's basically the thrust of this. And so there's 118 pages of that material. So the first section I'm going to talk about is disfellowshipping. What I've done is I've read this, I've gone through and I've highlighted some things that I thought were interesting. And so when they talk about disfellowshipping, they say there's no such thing as automatic disfellowshipping. Well, they say that, but they ask, what was the circumstances? Did the person act with reasonably complete knowledge or against counsel previously given? What is his attitude toward the wrong that could merit disfellowshipping? Is the individual repentant? Are their works befitting repentance? So basically the big thing when you go to a judicial committee is, what is your attitude? And interestingly enough, they say regarding limited association that might be accorded disfellowship relatives both inside the home and outside the home, see, and they refer you to some references. So they are admitting in this book that you have to limit your association with disfellowshipped family members. Another interesting thing, it would be wrong for a Christian to associate with, date, or marry a disfellowshipped person. So there you have it. Christians cannot associate with, date, or marry disfellowshipped persons. So there could be a case, though, where you're dating someone and they get disfellowshipped, but you're engaged. And if that happens, you can still marry that disfellowshipped person, but they would consider it unwise, but there won't be judicial action. So this is even the case, well, with a former mate. If your former mate's disfellowshipped, and then you start dating them again, and then marry them again, you will get disfellowshipped. That's something I hadn't considered, but I guess I'm not surprised at. Continuing on with disfellowshipping, here are the guidelines for a disfellowshipped person attending the meetings. They must sit quietly and may not participate in the meeting or converse with others in attendance. The person may attend even if they were disfellowshipped for apostasy and may be suspected of having bad motive in attending. So there you have it. If you're disfellowshipped, you cannot associate with people at the meetings. So where their website says about whether or not they shun people, they are bold-faced lying about that, because this is the instructions of how to shun disfellowship people. So then it says, at judicial committee hearings, it is proper for the judicial committee to pray beforehand, but not in the presence of a disfellowshipped person. This also holds true at the sessions of a judicial committee to hear a plea for reinstatement by a disfellowshipped person. So this really shows how the disfellowshipped person is to be treated. Prayers are not said in front of them, even when the elders are meeting for their reinstatement. You can pray beforehand, but not while they're there. And disassociated people are treated the same way as disfellowshipped people. So there's a section 2 on elders and ministerial servants dealing with their qualifications. So something that could affect the qualifications of an elder or a servant is if they have minor children and they're not in the truth. So depending on the situation there, that could be a hindrance. So if the family are all in the truth, but if the kids aren't progressing and they aren't doing well, that person is probably not going to be recommended as an elder or a servant. And there's numerous different rules there. What else do I have? There's a lot of stuff to go through here. Living accommodations. So in this section, living accommodations, says at times witnesses may permit a disfellowshipped relative to move into their home. And this can cause many problems. How this would be viewed by the congregation would depend upon the circumstances. An elder, a ministerial servant, or a pioneer who allows this to occur with one of his disfellowshipped children or an elderly parent is not automatically disqualified. Much depends upon the physical needs of the disfellowshipped person, how he is conducting himself in the home, whether he is containing the contaminating the spirituality of the family by living in their midst, and what effect this is having on the congregation. A disfellowshipped relative living in the home may be in attendance but not participate when the family Bible study is conducted. Another paragraph, some Christians may conclude that they ought to care for an aged or ill parent in their home, even though that one does not live by Bible standards. Well, funny, I don't remember Jesus mentioning the standards they were living by when he said to take care of them. Anyways, the impact on special privileges would depend on how the congregation and community view the situation. So there you have it. The instructions the branch has given people is pretty much, if possible, avoid having disfellowshipped family members in your home so that you can severely limit your association with them. And if you do, it might cause you to lose special privileges, depending on a number of circumstances. Now, here's one I didn't know, self-defense. One who continues to participate in exercise programs, such as Taibo, that imitate movements of the martial arts, such as Taekwondo, would not qualify for special privileges unless adjustments were made. So if you exercise in a program that imitates martial arts, you can have your privileges removed. There is a big section on wrongdoing, handling wrongdoing. So I'll read some of this. If the wrong committed could be a disfellowshipping offense, the elder to whom a confession is made should report the matter to the body of elders so that a determination can be made as to the need for a hearing by a properly designated judicial committee. The elders should advise the erring one of the need to handle matters in that way. The body of elders has the responsibility to investigate promptly all cases of serious sin because they offer a clear threat of contamination to the cleanness of the congregation or can bring the congregation into public disrepute. So they're worried about public disrepute of the congregation, but somehow that doesn't make them report pedophiles right away, and they try to hide pedophiles. Anyway, when a judicial committee meets with a wrongdoer, they should strive to help the individual, sharing with him good counsel based on the scriptures. If a person did wrong because he lacked understanding or yielded under extreme pressure, but he acknowledges the wrong and sincerely wants to do what is right, loving help should be extended. So basically, as you go through the process, what you discover is that typically speaking, after certain types of wrongs, you're fairly likely to be disfellowshipped, unless you didn't know what you were doing or you were under extreme pressure. If you're really, really repentant, sometimes you can get away with just reproof, even in cases of extreme wrongs. But there is a line over which you pass by which you cannot demonstrate repentance and therefore will be disfellowshipped. So the whole thing that there is not an automatic disfellowshipping is kind of a misnomer. There kind of is and kind of isn't. It depends on the body of elders dealing with it, where it happened, what you did, what the situations were, how many times you did it, blah, blah, blah. Very legalistic. All right, so some questions they ask about wrongdoing. Was the wrongdoing committed in ignorance without bad motive? If the wrongdoer shows genuine repentance, even doing so at the meeting itself, they should endeavor to help him, reproving him according to the need. So, there's that. Moving on, still in the subheading of wrongdoing. So if someone did something years ago and they confess it, you could still get in trouble if you're not an elder or a servant. Elders or servants, if it was years ago, they may still be able to continue serving if they're repentant and whatever. So for someone who did something years ago and then confessed it, it says, however, it would be proper to ascertain the reason why the wrong was not reported earlier. And regarding one who was appointed elder, ministerial servant, or pioneer at the time of a committed serious wrong, if it was within the past few years, the matter would likely be handled by a judicial committee. So for wrongs in the past, it has to be more than a few years for you not to automatically trip a judicial committee. So if you're a witness and you commit a wrong, wait like 5 or 10 years before you report it, and then just say that you were bothered, or find some excuse as to why you were so ashamed you couldn't report it or something, then you might get away with it. So if witness gives evidence of mental incompetence and he commits some deed for which he could be disfellowshipped, a judicial committee should consider the facts of the case. Well, I submit this. Witnesses are all doing things which they are told to by men, not by God, so therefore, how competent are they? They're doing what they're... Anyway, never mind. And this is interesting. Failure to associate with a congregation, even for many years, does not relieve a witness of responsibility to answer for serious wrongdoing. However, if the one has not been associated with the congregation for years and is not known as one of Jehovah's Witnesses and does not claim to be such, the congregation elders do not need to make extensive inquiry about his conduct. So even if you're not going to the congregation for years, you can still get yourself disfellowshipped if you break their rules. And it says there's no set length of time a person should be disfellowshipped. Reinstatement is based on genuine repentance. When the disfellowshipped individual demonstrates that he has abandoned his sinful course and is desirous of having a good relationship with Jehovah and his organization. The elders are careful to allow sufficient time, perhaps a year or even longer, for the disfellowshipped person to demonstrate that his profession of repentance is genuine. So they say there's no set period of time, but in my experience, we let someone in before a year was up, and we got a letter about it that was not very happy with our course, and the circuit overseer ended up reviewing it with the body after we got it. So there's no set time, but it's typically a year, or the branch is going to ask you what you're doing. So what else do we have here? Still on wrongdoing, handling cases of. It says, well, there should not be hasty action in reinstating individuals, neither should there be delay in reinstating individuals when repentance is definitely shown. So there you have it. This is the set of rules that the elders are bound by when they are working on a judicial case. So if the elders are good elders, well, that's kind of a relative term. If they're good organizational elders, they're going to go by the rules. But if they're good people, they're going to try to find ways to skirt the rules so that you don't get disfellowshipped. So, as you can see, this organization that tells you not to micromanage others is extremely explicit and has a lot of detail about exactly what they want you to do in different cases. Now, love is not manifest in this case. They're worried about maintaining the cleanness of the congregation. But what they're really worried about is the outward appearance of cleanness. And that is evident via the fact that there is currently a big problem with pedophiles that has been concealed by the organization. I don't know the exact number that are on record, but it's in the thousands. And the evidence is out there via the fact that there are numerous lawsuits. There has been a royal inquiry in Australia, which was publicized, and somehow protecting pedophiles from being prosecuted, they don't equate that with keeping the congregation clean, which makes no sense, because of the heinous crimes you can commit, that's got to be one of the most heinous crimes possible to commit. So they're concealing filth and disgustingness, and they're pretending to be clean on the outside, and if you ask them about it, they'll turn and walk away, and they'll be disgusted with you. In fact, Mike and Kim just did a video where someone was asking questions about one of the elders with regards to the whole Rio Rancho situation. I refer you to their channel for that. And when the child molestation inquiry was brought up to the elder, he got disgusted and walked away. They don't like having their dirt aired, but they're very good at hiding it. So that is from the organization, the Watchtower organization, and I just thought that would be interesting because those are guidelines not even the elders get to see. So anyways, that's my video for this time. Thanks for watching.